friends, welcome back to the www.plaidavenger.com, where we just don't want to hear the news. We want to understand the news. And we left yesterday's Plaidcast talking about some additional news stories of note concerning this Chinese anger, fury, rage at the United States, and perhaps some repercussions of this worldwide. The Chinese are just furious right now. And oh my gosh, is this going to spell the end of U.S.-Chinese relations? Is World War III coming? Oh my gosh, no, probably not. Just chill out. Let's entitle this one, though, Sino-Sniping has international impacts. It actually really doesn't affect U.S.-Chinese relations as much as the press is leading you to believe. That's because they don't understand what's going on. Therefore, you don't understand what's going on. But we want to understand what's going on, so let's get to it. Sino-Sniping has international impacts. All right, well, what's China so pissed off about to start? As per the Plaidcast yesterday, let's link that up. The U.S. is selling Taiwan $6.5 billion worth of weaponry and arms. And that infuriates China. They consider Taiwan part of their territory, even though it's questionable. So they get all bent out of shape when the U.S. sells arms to Taiwan. We talked about that yesterday. On top of that, though, additional features of fury is that U.S. President Barack Obama is set to meet the Dalai Lama next week or week after. His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, the spiritual leader of a place in China called Tibet. And the Tibetan issue is a big, huge, sticky, thorny issue in the side of China that I won't get into here because we've talked about it in previous Plaidcasts. Let's link them up too. Suffice to say, anytime anybody messes with Taiwan or Tibet or the spiritual leader of Tibet, the Dalai Lama, it gets the Chinese panties in a big bunch. Hu Jintao's got a big wedgie going right now. He's not happy about Taiwanese arms deal or Barack Obama meeting with the Dalai Lama. However, there's more. You probably heard about this big Google gouging story going on too in the last few weeks, where Google has been cyber hacked and attacked within China. Its Chinese offices have been hacked. And the hackers were very targeted in what they were looking for, and they were going in for looking for information on human rights activists within China. And Google came outright and said, this is BS. Here's what these folks were looking for. Here's the information. And let's just call a spade here. The implication is that it's the Chinese government doing it, or it's people sponsored by the Chinese government who are hacking in to Google to get this information. It's just too political to be a random hack. They were looking for certain things. So this implication leaves Chinese government with egg on their face, and they're pissed off about that. And Google's pissed off too, by the way. And they're like, the hell with this. You know what? We're not limiting searching anymore. Screw you, China. Do what you're going to do. We might just walk out of the country anyway. And for international business to be saying that, it makes the Chinese look bad, and they're mad about that. But let's layer on some more fury here. Because in response to that Google mess, U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has been doing some Hillary hating on Chinese human rights. Because she has been an advocate, as the U.S. has been for years, to pressure the Chinese government to give their citizens more human rights, equal liberties, and this Google story just plays right into that. And Hillary made a speech saying, hey, this is BS. We believe this is BS too. We think the Chinese government should change. They should open up their system a little bit. You know what? We think the Chinese government should allow free access and searching for Google and everything else on the internet. We think it's Chinese citizens' rights to have internet. And for their part, the Chinese government are like, screw you, none of your business. All right, they get very mad when people start sticking their nose into the human rights issues in their country. And that brings me back it up to the bigger picture. Is China really that pissed off at the U.S., just furious at the U.S.? Kind of. They are for these issues that I've outlined. What are they really mad about, though? They just don't like Uncle Sam, don't like apple pie, don't like baseball? No, it's nothing personal. Here's why China's really pissed. All of these issues, to them, are questioning or attacking their sovereignty. Whoa, what's that? That sovereignty word, the S word. The sovereignty, it refers to a state's rights to have ultimate control over the territory and the people in their territory. And by ultimate control, I mean everything. You can tax your citizens, you can jail your citizens, you can kill your citizens. That's what sovereignty is. And you get sovereignty by going out and basically being part of the country club. That is, all the other countries of the world recognize that you have sovereignty. And in return, you recognize their sovereignty. In other words, the U.S. has the right to kill its own citizens, which it does, death row. And China respects that right. And in return, China expects that the U.S. and all the other countries will respect their ability and their right to do anything they want to their citizens. China is, you heard it here first, China actually is the Superman of sovereignty on planet Earth. Only the Chinese are really diehard entrenched, support this concept of sovereignty like no other state. China says no. The U.S. should not be invading other countries. That is upsetting the concept of sovereignty. The U.S. should not be talking about human rights in other countries. That is infringing on sovereignty. And by the way, the Chinese don't pick on just the U.S. They say Russia shouldn't have invaded other countries. No one should invade other countries, and no one should say anything about what people or what their government is doing to the citizens in their state. That's the whole concept of sovereignty, that you can't mess with other countries for stuff they do inside their own state. Now, if you go invade another country, well, now you're breaking some international rules that people can get involved in. But the Chinese are staunch Superman defenders of this concept. And that is why they get furious when anybody talks about Taiwan or the U.S. sells them arms, because they consider that part of their territory. That's why they get enraged when anyone on planet Earth talks to the Dalai Lama, because they say, hey, the Dalai Lama is trying to pull Tibet away from our sovereign state, and that pisses us off. And they get triply furious if anybody starts commenting on human rights abuses within China. They say, that's our business, not yours. We don't say shit about what you do to the people in your country, and therefore you have no right to say anything about what we do to the people in our country. Now, let me back this up. Woo! I ain't defending China here. I am not sympathizing and saying they're right. I'm empathizing. I want you to understand the Chinese mindset and why they're so enraged, furious, pissed off about all this stuff right this second. Now, does this mean that U.S.-Chinese relations are at an all-time low and it's just destroyed and destruction and who knows what's going to come? Not really, because all of these things are quite typical in the U.S.-Chinese relationship. All of these issues have reared their heads multiple times in the last 60 years. As suggested in yesterday's podcast, the U.S. has been selling arms to Taiwan for 60 years. The U.S. has been meeting with the Dalai Lama for 30 years, as have many other countries on planet Earth. And the U.S. and other Western European democracies mostly have encouraged, pushed, cajoled China to do something about its human rights, because we hold dear the concept of human rights, individual liberties, and we think China should too. So there's nothing new under the sun here. Here's what's new though, friends. China is being much more vocal than ever before about how pissed off they are. That is new. The issues ain't new. How pissed China is and how loudly they're screaming about it is new. Why would this be? Why wouldn't China have screamed and ranted and raged about all these issues 30 or 40 years ago? They did. They would say, hey, why don't you guys shut up about our human rights, or leave us alone, or don't meet with the Dalai Lama. But they said it quietly and respectfully. Now they're raging about it. Why now? I wonder why. Oh, that's right, because China's a badass right now. And when they were quieter, smaller economy, weaker politically, militarily, and economically, they couldn't really say that much. Or even if they could, nobody would really care. But China now, here, on world stage, third largest economy and growing fast. Big military, growing fast, resuming their place on the world power player stage. And so therefore, right now in 2010, they're feeling their oats. They're feeling pretty good about themselves. Hell, they just won the Olympics. So they're saying, hell no, we are a world power. We don't like what you're doing, and we're going to rant and rage about it so that you know we don't like what you're doing. And we're going to put pressure from us onto you. That's why you're hearing so much more about it. China was weak 30 years ago, stronger 20 years ago, pretty decent 10 years ago. They are a power now.